This is a product video for Inozetek's Dynamic Dry Apply PPF with a specific focus on their matte and satin versions. And here are the details. Material type, TPU, thickness 7.82 mil. The top coat is self-healing. The adhesive type is removable and repositionable. It is dry apply and the warranty is up to 5 years. And note that Inozetek can provide a wide range of promotional materials in order to educate your client on the properties and to showcase the colors. Always be sure to document the lot number that is on the outside of the box. And note, this is 100% TPU, so it's extremely flexible and strong. The adhesive has a matte finish and air egress channels built into it. It has a medium initial tack that will adhere to the surface. If bubbles appear, they can easily be pressed away. Always be sure to squeegee in firm overlapping squeegee strokes, and if wrinkles build up, due to the matte and satin finish, picking up won't result in adhesive lines. Due to the strong top coat, scratches will self-heal with light heat. Due to the thickness of the film, if any specks get under it, immediately pick the film up, remove the debris, then go back to reinstall in order to ensure a smooth paint-like finish. Be sure to note that if the film gets stretched during install, you can tell that it's been overstretched by a shift in the color and by the tension on the edge. To fix this, simply pick it back up and allow the film to relax at room temperature, then go back to install. And to avoid overstretching on the edge, do the technique that's called a shimmy by shaking the film back and forth, then gently pull it to the surface. This technique reduces any tension on the face and on the edge. On key areas during the install, you'll have to use inlays or overlays. This means for overlaps, special protocol is needed as, due to the matte and satin finish, the surface energy is low. Therefore, it's important to place masking tape on the base layer and flash it with a butane torch. This raises the surface energy. Then apply the top film as normal, and once completed, add medium heat to the top layer to activate the adhesive. This combination ensures a strong, long-term hold for the overlap. And note that when using knifeless tape, due to the multi-layers of the film, the edge won't be perfectly straight, so only do knifeless tape on non-visual edges. Now we move on to prep, and we begin with tools. Here are the recommended tools to use, and make sure that all are in good quality and condition. This will ensure a premium install. We highly recommend using the 8-step cleaning protocol developed by the Wrap Institute. And step 1 is hardware. How much hardware that needs to be removed from the vehicle will vary based on color and difficulty. Always be sure to organize the hardware and place it in a safe area and document how it comes off to ensure an easy reinstall. The next step is to use an air compressor to blow out any dirt in open gaps and edges, and always be sure to blow this dirt away from the vehicle before the next step. Now move on to cleaning, and the first step is to place a squeegee in a microfiber towel and focus on all the edges first and open any sections when necessary. Now spray the main surface area thoroughly and wipe it down from top to bottom. Next up is clay bar, and be sure to clay bar the entire vehicle to ensure a smooth finish. This is a very wet step, so we recommend using a drying towel to speed up this process. The next step is degreasing. We recommend using 70% isopropyl alcohol. Place a squeegee in a microfiber towel, do the edges first, then the main surface area. Always be sure to put extra focus on recessed areas like door handle cups and on the inside edges. Now it's time to reduce the surface energy using a low-tax solution on key areas like body lines and on large flat sections like hoods and roofs. Polish this on evenly. Then the final step is what's called a focus degrease. This is with a strong degreaser, and this should be done on the edges and any recessed areas. This concludes the 8-step cleaning process. Now we move on to pre-inspection. This should include documenting any damage such as rock chips and scratches, and also noting if the paint is OEM. Always be sure to take pictures or videos. Next up, it's recommended to cut the panels down ahead of time. This means measuring the vehicle very precisely. Always account for 3 inches of extra bleed on each section, and it's recommended to section the roll-up on a work table, thoroughly wipe down the table to remove any specks of dirt, and it's recommended to roll the film out with the film side facing up. This will help avoid any scratches on the film. Label each panel clearly and note that the film is directional, so when sectioning the panels, note the direction with a dry erase marker on the liner. When cutting the panel out on the vehicle, be sure to do so carefully. Use a backing paper cutter and note the direction as well on the vehicle. Now we move on to install tips and tricks. For large sections like the hood, thoroughly wipe the hood down with a low-tax solution. Then do a focus degrees on all the edges and recessed areas. Once this is complete, now for the install, make sure to place the panel in position, remove excess film, remove the liner partway, flip it over, and adhere it to a body line on one side of the hood. Now slowly release the liner. One installer pulls the film lightly off the surface while another squeegees it on. Always be sure to pick the material up and feed it into any recessed area when possible. This ensures long-term hold. Once the main flat area has been applied, for the front curve section, 2 installers hold the film lightly off the surface for the center. Then for the sides, pull the film towards the corner, and it's very important to glass the film out first before squeegeeing. So once the corner is locked in, use the shimmy technique to relax the material onto the main flat area. Once glassed out, squeegee and take it to the edge. For cutting, on the top section of the hood, cut the material roughly 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch so it can wrap around the top. For the corners, it's recommended to use a butane torch to relax the film so it forms completely. And once the corner is formed, then take the material to the top side of the hood. For the side of the hood, one option is to cut on the side of the fender, open the hood, form the corner at the front first, then form the film around the sides in steady movements front and back. For the front section, use the butane torch to relax the film on the corner and body lines and take the film roughly 1/4 inch under the front lip to ensure long-term hold and durability. Use a light touch when cutting away the excess film. Then add high heat to the edges to make sure the adhesive is activated. Now move on to recommended techniques for the front and back doors. Release the entire liner, pick the film up and gently place it on the upper body line. Once set, pull firmly down towards another body line at the bottom and lock it in place. From here, pull it back up to create glass. Then squeegee the flat area in firm overlapping squeegee strokes into any recessed areas at the bottom. This ensures long-term hold and it prevents overstretching. At the bottom section, pick the film up and feed it into the bottom edge to avoid any tension. And if there's a tight gap at the bottom, like in the case of this Audi Q3, do what is called the tuck and cut. First, pick the film up and tuck it in with the buffer side. Then pick the film up one more time and tuck it in with the hard side of the squeegee. Then cut away the excess film with the tip of the blade at the lowest part of the gap. Make sure to move your body to ensure light touch and focus cut. Once cut, remove the excess film and then seal it with a tucking tool. If there's any recessed areas on the door, pick the film up and feed it into the recessed area first, then take it to the upper molding. Click the blade and cut on the opposite side, in many cases, to ensure that the film wraps around. For window moldings, bridge the material over the gap. Cut on the high side. This ensures about 1/8 inch of film will then tuck safely into the bottom section for full coverage and hold. For door handle areas, it's very important to cut out any raised objects first. Using tweezers helps ensure high quality. Then form the film into the deepest part of the recessed area using an application glove and cut away any excess film cleanly. Add high heat to activate the adhesive in the door handle cup. For the edges, open the door when possible. Add heat to activate the adhesive and form the film gently around the edge. When wrinkles appear, add a butane torch to soften them. This will most likely be on body lines and corners. Once the film is softened, then form the film around, and if wrinkles appear, add tiny relief cuts to relax the film around sharp body lines. Adding the butane torch and relief cuts will ensure a smooth, pristine finish. Once the film is formed around the backside edge, use a tucking tool to seal the edge firmly in place. And here's a focused overview on how to do corners. Hook the corner so the material goes behind it and scoops up. Then cut the film 30 degrees away from each corner. Leave roughly 1/8 inch of extra film around the corner, then cut the sides. Open a section when necessary, then soften the film with a butane torch. This will conform the PPF to the corner. And if tiny wrinkles occur, add the butane torch and a squeegee or a lacy tip to flatten the wrinkles out. For door handles, it's recommended to wrap them off the body on a vise. Hook the front section of the door handle and pull firmly towards the back. Then pick the material up and snap it towards the sides. The dynamic PPF from Inozetek is very flexible at room temperature. Always form the film away from body lines and corners into the back section. click the blade so it's extra sharp, and then add the butane torch towards the front to soften the film so it conforms safely and firmly to the bottom. Once the film is relaxed, cut it flush to the bottom side of the door handle with a sharp knife. Once the edges are cut and clean, then come back in and soften them one more time with the butane torch. Form the film to the back side of the door handle. Flash the edges to raise the surface energy. Then apply an overlay piece to the backside. Form the film thoroughly into place and cut away the excess film and leave a 1/4 inch overlap to ensure long-term hold. For the back and front bumper, it's recommended to masking tape the outside area to lower the surface energy to allow the film to tuck into the gap safely. Release the entire liner, then pull the film around the outside section. Once set, now lock the film onto the flat area in the middle. Pick the film up and stretch it around and into the upper side. Then do the palm technique to form the film into any moderate recessed areas. Glass the film to the top section, then squeegee it onto the main surface area. For back bumpers, it's recommended to wrap the top section separately. This means placing knifeless tape on the outside body line on the flat section, form the film to the top of the knifeless tape, then release the line. Remove the excess green. Now it's important to prep the bottom layer. This involves running masking tape to frame where the overlap will be, then flashing the top coat so it erases the surface energy for the overlay piece. Now place knifeless tape on any areas where there's direct cuts on the body and the edge is non-visual. Apply the overlay piece with no tension. Remove the knifeless tape on the non-visual edge. And for visual edges, it's recommended to click the blade and cut these out by hand. This will ensure a razor-like edge, which ensures a overlap that disappears into the body line. Always make sure to add an application glove and pressure onto the overlap. And for all sections on the bumper, once done, add heat to activate the adhesive to ensure long-term hold. The final result looks like a one-piece bumper that has a beautiful, perfect matte or satin finish. For hardware that cannot be removed, like the front headlights, it's recommended to put cutting tape on the top edge of the hardware, wrap over this area, release the film, then tuck the film safely underneath it for full coverage and long-term hold. And for bumper sensors, it's recommended to cut them out to expose the gasket. This can be done with a knife or with specialized tools like the Sensor Cut Pro. This ensures long-term quality and safety. Now move on to post-install, and it's recommended to place edge seal tape underneath the front bumper, back bumper, and rocker panel. Flash the edge of the PPF film to raise the surface energy and place edge seal on top. Then do a focused 360 degree check over on all the edges with a heat gun, and make sure all the edges are fully sealed by adding pressure with a squeegee or tucking tool. Once the 360 degree check over is complete, it's recommended to not apply a ceramic coating on top. The reason is, a ceramic coating with the satin or matte finishes will change the color and hue of the film dramatically from what the customer asked for. And due to the strong top coat, it's simply recommended to use a light solution of alcohol and water to make sure the matte or satin finish stays pristine for the long term. Make sure to clean the vehicle on a regular basis to ensure this pristine finish. And be sure to go to this URL to get more information and to purchase the Inozetek Dynamic Dry Apply PPF matte or satin finish. And always be sure to follow Inozetek on these social media outlets. This has been a product video for Inozetek's Dynamic Dry Apply PPF focused on matte and satin finishes. This video has been proudly produced by the Wrap Institute.